Okay, hello everyone. My name is Jalen, and today I will be sharing my initiative with you for LAUSD called the CARE Act. So for our table of contents today, we'll be going through some background. We'll talk about the policy recommendations, the policy itself, reasons why I think it'll work, and then we'll head into some talking about the equity and teacher support, ways to fund the policy, and then head to our conclusion. Okay, so to give some background about LAUSD, it is the biggest district in California, serving over 500,000 students. Most of these students are Latino, with Black, Asian, and white students making up a smaller percentage. I am a part of that percentage. I did grow up in LAUSD, and I know for a fact that a lot of the kids in this district do come from low-income households, myself included. Which kind of makes sense if you look at the rates for sure. And we know that two major issues that we see are high absenteeism and wide achievement gaps. Me myself, I did have like 80 tardies per semester when I was a part of LAUSD. So I probably am a part of those numbers. And this does lead to the achievement gap because, it's the whole saying of if you're not in class, how are you learning? How are you growing? How are you being, successful? But a lot of this is tied to poverty, trauma, stress, things that happen outside of school. So this is kind of where my initiative will come into play. So my initiative is the CARE initiative, which stands for Counseling Access for Resilience in Education. And, it's pretty straightforward. The goal is to make mental health support a normal part of school and kind of give it the same notion or same attention that we give to our academics and our athletics, in that same way we should be prioritizing mental health as well. Now, in terms of smart policy, the specifics would be wellness centers, more counselors, and staff training. We'll measure it by tracking grades, attendance, and surveys. Excuse me. Um, I know for sure it's achievable because, there are already state and federal funds that we can pull from for sure. Like the money is there. It's just a matter of getting the initiative started. Um, so we can see the success rates increase. And it's relevant, because mental health is directly tied to learning. Because if you're not okay mentally, there's no, it makes it harder to be able to learn. Um, and as far as the time, we kind of roll it out over the span of 5 years. Start small, see like the changes that we need, how to fix it, how to make it better, and go from there. So for the policy itself, first we would want to have every middle and high school to get a wellness center. And at the wellness center, we would want to have, certified psychologists, counselors, social workers, a crisis team, like people who can respond in case there is an emergency. Um, yeah. And then we would also want our teachers and staff to get training, so they can kind of spot the early signs of mental health struggles and kind of like reach out to those students who might need the extra support, teach them how to calm students down if someone's having a panic attack or an anxiety attack, teaching them the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, like just different things that will kind of help them succeed. And then along with that, we would also want preventative programs. So like mindfulness, SEL activities, peer support groups, which I think would be very beneficial because, a lot of times it's easier talking to a friend than it is to talk to a teacher or someone in power or someone with authority. And as a bonus to this, I would want an anonymous support app so that way students can reach out for help, without being fearful or without feeling stigmatized or feeling like they're not listened to, they're not heard, or being afraid of being judged. They can just reach out, ask a question, and get a response, and it will be open like for 24 hours. But yeah. Heading over to why it will work. There's already a lot of research that kind of backs this up. Study shows that students with access to school-based counseling do have a higher GPA and fewer suspensions. And then if we also look at SEL, which is social emotional learning, we know that it boosts focus and test scores. And, when schools also lower their counselor ratios, more kids will graduate and go to college. So with the counselor ratios, we would want it to be one counselor for every 250 students compared to it before being one counselor to every 700 students. And then thinking about it, it's not even just about the students, this is also for the teachers. Teachers also, can feel supported by this and will have more time teaching instruction rather than directing or correcting behavior. Okay, so thinking about, excuse me, um, library's goals of schooling, we talked about in class democratic equality, social efficiency, and social mobility. And I would say that my initiative supports all three. It promotes democratic equality by giving every student access to mental health support. It helps with social efficiency because healthier students are more likely to graduate and become productive workers. And it also ties to social mobility because it gives kids a fairer chance to succeed and compete for more opportunities that will be presented. And if you want to take it a step further, it's also about liberation. It kind of gives students the tools to take control over their own lives without having someone else do it for them. Thinking about equity and teacher support, this part is especially important for equity because Black students are still suspended and expelled at higher rates, which, can derail their chances for college. And with mental health support, it can help address some of the issues before they escalate into more serious situations. And then thinking about teachers, especially Black teachers, the system often doesn't, provide enough support. They do face more burnout and a higher turnover rate. And if we want to keep them, in the classroom, we have to make schools a healthier place for them too. And I think my initiative benefits both students and teachers. And, even I will one day benefit from it because I too aspire to become a teacher. Now, thinking about funding, if we look at the cost, it would cost 50 million annually, which seems like a lot, but let me be the one to tell you that the budget for LAUSD this upcoming school year is 18.8 billion. So I'm sure they could find 50 million somewhere in that to support mental health. Um, this 50 million will cover, staff, training, the centers, the app, everything, hiring the professionals, doing all these things. And this money can come from state funding through Prop 63. It can come from the federal recovery funds or even partnerships with nonprofits and healthcare organizations. For the rollout, we would prioritize the schools that need it the most first, see how it does, see if it works, see what needs to be changed or fixed, and then we would expand it district-wide over the span of 5 years. To wrap things up, the big idea here is just that mental health is academic health. If we want students to show up, succeed, and feel hopeful about their future, we can't ignore what they're carrying emotionally. We have to be the ones to take the initiative to reach out and say, hey, are you doing okay? And all those things. And I think with CARE, the CARE initiative, it'll make schools a place where both students and teachers can thrive. This will give LAUSD a chance to lead the way in showing that wellness and achievements, go hand in hand for sure. That's all I have for you. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening.